They say good girls follow the rules. They smile, they show up, they keep it together. But we know that behind that polished exterior, there's a whole lot of anxiety. Hey, I'm Caitlin, chronic overthinker and host of Good Girls Have Anxiety. This podcast is for anyone who's ever looked calm on the outside, but was secretly spiraling over that one text they sent 3 days ago. Each week, we dive into this messy, hilarious, and sometimes uncomfortable truth about mental health. People-pleasing, boundaries, burnout, and why saying no still makes some of us sweat like we're on trial. We're talking real talk, zero fluff, just honest conversations, a lot of laughs, and maybe a little bit of swearing. Because being a good girl doesn't mean you're okay all the time. And having anxiety, that doesn't make you any less powerful, lovable, or worthy. So take a breath, unclench your jaw. You're in the right place. This is Good Girls Have Anxiety, the podcast.
Again, with being open to flexibility.
Yeah.
You just need to be.
Yeah.
You think you're in control, you're not.
Like your birth plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Girl, when I hear about birth plans, I'm like, what are you well?
I was going to be in water, baby. I was set.
What's
that
a
I was
birth
gonna be in
plan?
water.
It's what you want to happen. Like, so you could be like, no epidural, no this, I want to have the tub, I want to
But
do
you're
natural
making
birth.
this plan having
Like,
no idea what
No.
labor feels like.
And
you're not qualified to make that plan.
I'm sure every midwife is like, okay.
but they should be. They should be. Like, you're there, you're on a journey. Like, you're on a boat in the middle of the water and you're just trying to get to shore. Like,
Yeah.
just go with the flow.
But then
Yeah,
also, are
yeah.
you can you be held responsible for making those decisions in that moment when you are just in lizard brain, in pure
That's
survival?
the other thing.
Anyways, a birth plan is.
I mean, you can have a flexible birth plan. So, like,
Yes.
For example, I said to the doctors, I was like, I would like to be as natural as possible. Like, I just want to get like prepared for the epidural, but if I don't need it, I don't want it. Like,
I didn't know you could do that.
yeah, oh yeah, you can be and that's the thing. Like, you should talk to your doctors. Like, I didn't want to
Yeah.
immediately get the epidural. I wanted to go through a natural, slow labor. I wanted the
Yeah.
peanut. I wanted the yoga ball. I wanted to walk. I wanted to do like there's a bunch of different moves that can get things.
Stairs and all that.
Yeah, I wanted to get moving. I want to be as mobile for as long as possible. And then I wanted to, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just needed to, like, when it like, if I say, give me the epidural, give me the epidural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's go, let's do it. And it's also like, whatever my medical team suggests is what I want to do. You are the professionals. This is my rough idea of how I'd like it to go. And honestly, my first birth was peaceful.
Yeah.
Don't at me. It just,
I'm
I was
happy
very
for you.
fortunate.
I'm
And it was
very
a little
happy
weird.
for
Good
you.
Also love gravel and morphine. So, just saying.
The Lord's concoction
Like,
is gravel and morphine. When
my
you're in
friend-
labor,
Not even, so I got induced and then they gave me that. I had
Me
the best
too.
night of my life. Oh, so good.
when they were like, if you're having a hard time sleep, just come back for some gravel and morphine.
I feel so cheated right now. I did not get any of that.
Gravel
what are we
and
gonna do to get
morphine?
you to
I didn't even
experience
get morphine.
So my midwife even said, she was like, I plan on having
drugs. Just
an
kidding.
unmeasured-
The next episode,
No.
we're going to have the experiment of the drugs.
need a rehab therapist in because but my midwife had said I want a natural birth, but I plan on having morphine and gravel in the early stages because it really, really helps. I'm so sorry.
So the
you're wrong.
epidural is the one that like it numbs you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
like, induced. Good luck. The rest is up to them. So yeah, it was like.
Did you try like the puffy thing? Have you ever? Do you guys know
Oh, the gas.
Is it
It did
Pictos? No,
nothing for
Pictos
me.
and something else.
Yeah, it doesn't-
I hated it. I
Yeah.
felt like
Oh,
like,
it makes you sick too. Like nauseous if you have too much.
yeah.
of this.
Oh,
Well, I
really?
wasn't even having. I was having like little, and I felt like I was huffing gas. That's
I felt
what
like I
you're
couldn't
doing.
breathe. I'm like, I need
Yeah.
a full breath, not through this.
It felt like my ears were plugged.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was immediately like, absolutely not. But
Is
like,
that like laughing gas kind of thing?
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not laughing.
You're not
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
kind of feel like you've been filled with like a harsh gas.
Yeah.
Like it's like a fart on your whole body. Like this is awful. And there's
Not how I
pictures-
would have described it, but I like that.
You are a fart. But there's this really cute picture. You guys have probably seen it. I hope that you've seen it, but I shared it recently of I was on the yoga ball and Steve's behind me and he
Oh,
has
that
his
is a
mask
cute
on,
picture.
right?
Yeah.
And he's just like holding my belly and like trying, and I'm like trying the laughing gas. So you could see me like, I looked like I was farting, but it's a funny picture. It's good. Like I was kind of just like, I was going through the motions, and it was
it just wasn't my favorite part of it, but the whole experience was quite nice because I got to say I wanted to do these things to prepare me for labor. It took 36 hours from the time of induction to actual birth. But I mean, this is what we pay taxes for. AHS works really hard for me. So we've discovered that.
Put it on my tab.
Put it on the tab.
Caitlin's just been racking up.
The tax increases are just Caitlin.
I didn't even know what this laughing.
I feel so cheated. Like, I had 8 hours from start to finish.
What do you mean?
From like 0 dilation to like, there she is.
What?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
was so
agony,
cheap.
though?
You took my hours away from me.
Okay, but I made up for the second time. I was in and out of there. But so did they send you home after 8 hours?
The next day they did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I got home with Blake. I was in there for 4 extra days after. Like, I was in there for a long time. We will get into the full episode.
yeah.
Don't worry.
I know.
We'll just, the little preview.
So hard not to.
It's so hard not to because they're so good. I won't like give away like the good stuff. But with Wyatt, like I was in and out of there within 12 hours. Like they sent me home that day because I'm like,
crazy.
it was great.
Oh,
it was
no.
so great.
I racked up the bills on that end.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why we pay taxes, baby.
I think I was in there for 6 days with Janie.
Yeah,
wow.
but same.
Yeah.
But BC was very generous at that time. Like when's Janie?
Yeah. Well, I had a horrible experience at BC Women's.
Oh,
It was really bad.
can we just
It
like
was so
carry
much
on this
better here.
episode longer? Like
Yeah,
I love
know.
this.
I know. I want more details on
Yes.
on Liz's philosophy and where.
We're gonna go back.
I know
and forth,
we
back
all
and
have ADHD.
Hey,
But I think birthday stories are such a huge part of it too, though, and I think we forget that. And they laid the foundation of how we think going into this.
but
you
you're
know?
confirming that, so like that is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've always thought that, but like I haven't Googled it yet. I am a Google mom.
Yeah.
But that is the one thing that I have not Googled.
And here's an interesting thing: like there even is research to suggest that the rhythm that you get into when you're pregnant kind of sets the rhythm for your baby until they start producing their own melatonin at 8 weeks. So if you're going to bed at 8 o'clock every night and you're getting up at 9 o'clock every morning, that kind of helps set some of the circadian rhythm for your baby because it's a habit
I
already
thought
for
that,
the last
though.
like 9 months. Because I've worked and I've had this like with clients. They're like, no, my baby sleeps till 11 o'clock and he goes to bed at 1. I'm like, okay, but what's your family schedule? Well,
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, we go to bed at 1 and we wake up at 11 o'clock. I was like, well, he's following exactly what you're doing because that's the schedule that's been kind of set for him. Yeah.
I'm sorry, people are going to bed at 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock and what? Are people
No,
like
go to
children?
bed at 1 o'clock at night, like 1 a.m.
Why?
Because they have a different, like they might be in the restaurant industry. I see it a lot in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And they sleep in later.
Like
in
by
the
7
morning.
o'clock, I'm
work.
dying. Like,
Yeah.
keep, like,
Yeah,
like, are you crazy?
But I guess it's just shifting their entire
Yeah.
kids' schedules back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're just on a
Yeah.
different clock.
But that was already like part of his makeup when he was
Interesting.
totally.
born. So we don't think how much we already have
Absolutely.
set some of this up, right?
yeah.
So yeah, and then we come in and we're like, we're gonna shape this human into be the next.
Can I ask kind of maybe a silly question? If they're not producing their own melatonin until 8 weeks, how are they sleeping until 8 weeks? Or they're not?
They don't sleep.
They don't sleep at all?
sleep.
Well,
It's a
they
trick.
always sleep, but they never sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So with Blake, she would fall asleep randomly everywhere, and I just rode the wave, and that's it. You're riding the wave, right?
Yeah.
Like it's their world, and you're just living it. You just make sure that they continue to keep breathing and make sure that they're nourished. Like everything else, well,
So here's where I would say, okay, it's great. Your little one born. Let's do some things now that can help them organize their day and nights. Because if we're feeding every so often around the clock, how are they supposed to know what's day and night? Right?
Yeah.
So here's what I say. As long as they've reached birth weight, and by the time they reach birth weight, you do not have to wake your baby
Yeah.
during the night to feed. And if that's the case, just feed them when they wake up.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I've bet so many moms like, yeah, I was told to wake him every 2 hours to feed him, and he's like 8 weeks old. I'm like,
Wait, they wake them up?
a lot of people do.
You do have to do that until they're at their birth weight.
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
because they lose weight after they're born. And then
I'm
they
learning
get their
so much.
colostrum, and then they it's usually for the first week, and then the mother's milk comes in, and then it's after that that the weight gain starts to happen.
Guys, I'm going to come back to this podcast after my first baby. I'm going to listen to it and be like taking notes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and it's when they reach that, or when the doctor says like, no, I want, like if they're born early, they may say like, no, I want them at a certain weight before we reduce that. But it's really important to work closely with the doctor on that and get that information. Say, okay, I don't have to wake baby anymore. Fantastic. Let's wait. Let them wake up and then feed them. And then the biggest thing after that is they have 2 stages of sleep when they're a newborn. One is active sleep and one is that deep sleep. And we all think the deep sleep is when baby's sleeping. They're not moving. They're just like perfect. But we don't recognize what active sleep is.
Which is when I was waking Janie up.
They're snorting. They're twerking. They're like, they can cry. They can actually cry out.
Yeah, Janie
and
was.
their eyes are fully closed.
Yep.
They're still asleep.
Do they continue that as they get older too?
They get until about, I would say, 3 months. So it's when the 4-month regression happens is when they actually change in sleep cycles and they start developing 4 stages of sleep cycles. And that's when we start to see the change. So that's when the big things happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, they were sleeping so well. And now they're not sleeping well anymore.
Okay, so I did something wild this time. I did some mild sleep training, which I know this is not going to be Liz's advice because it's very early. But Elliot was at his birth weight within 4 days. So he was gaining weight perfectly fine. And so we did not have to wake him at night anymore. And he was sleeping quite well at night, but he just couldn't fall asleep on his own. And so at 3 months, he was sleeping through the night. Now, don't hate me because he is not sleeping through the night. This is a brief window. And I knew it was a brief window. He was sleeping through the night, not needing to eat. He was not teething. He was not ill. And I was like, this is a perfect window for me to teach him to sleep through the night or fall asleep on his own. Because I know I'm not training you to not tell me when you're hungry because I know you're not hungry. Yeah. Because you slept through the night for 2-3 weeks now. And so before the 4-month sleep regression, I helped him learn to fall asleep independently. And it was quite easy because of his temperament. This is not all babies. This would have never happened for Janie. Yeah. But I just saw this perfect window and we did Ferber. So 3-minute check-ins sort of things. And I kept it loose, but every 3 minutes I check in and just pat his back and he fell asleep within 25 minutes. And he never really cried super hard. And he learned how to fall asleep independently. And so we never had this big thing. And then we never really had the 4-month sleep regression. Yeah. Yeah. So I know all the advice is to not sleep train until after 4 months or after 6 months.
So after 4 months, and actually that increased. It used to be 3 months. And the big thing is doctors and consultants, they just don't want parents to miss the cues of feeding.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And that's the fear.
Okay.
And that's why I would say, no, wait, because I'm not in your house. I don't know what's happening. It's hard to say.
That was my thought. I was like, I have this golden opportunity. Yeah. I'm just going to tonight's the night. I'm going to give it a shot. And we never had that 4-month sleep regression. And I think it's because he had learned how to fall asleep on his own.
So when the lighter stages of sleep came in,
he
was
could just roll through it. Whereas Janie woke up every 45 minutes through that 4-month sleep regression for so long. So what's your general go-to advice when that 4-month sleep regression hits? Because I feel like that's the biggest one for parents. That's when you're slapped in the face with oh my God, my life is over. I can't live through this. And that's when a lot of people start co-sleeping. Because they're like, I need tonight, I need sleep. I don't care about tomorrow. I need sleep right now.
I find when I get into that, it's I worked with the parents. I'm like, the first thing you're going to be afraid of is your baby's waking up and you're not feeding them. That's what you're going to be scared of. You know? So let's concentrate on the feeds. Making sure your child has X amount of ounces during the day so you don't have that worry. And not all babies can take that in. Some babies have smaller tummies and they just can't consume that. And if that's the case, let's schedule some feeds overnight. Yeah. And make it feed at 2 and at 4 a.m. and know that those are the feeding times.
Well, that's the thing. Sleep training doesn't mean you're training them to sleep through the night. Yeah. That's not the same. It's not saying you're in your crib for 12 hours now. See you later, bucko.
Yeah, the door's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's all part of it. It's making sure that all those needs are met and then also encouraging the independent sleep and getting parents on track for the long term. And that's probably where I'm a little bit different because I have thought about going down hey, how about I do an online course and all that and have this passive money. I have a really bad business model. Terrible.
Because you care.
Because there's so much involved in it. And I could sell the package and the dream, Like we got soul packages and dreams when
I
we
sure
were
did.
when we were moms, and it's like, but it's
Yeah.
not going to solve the problem, and parents are just going to be frustrated and upset. And maybe that's why there's so much of an anti-sleep out there, is because parents are upset and frustrated because their needs haven't been met and the promises haven't been kept.
Absolutely. And then I think too, there's this transition after that point of like, so whatever you and your family meet with Liz, she'll help you through the sleep regression. And then you find whatever it is that helps facilitate sleep, and you all kind of start figuring it out. Regressions come and go as the naps change and you transition from 3 to 2 to 1. And that's just like, you kind of figure it out after the 4-month regression that everything ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
We roll with it. And
I actually start anchoring schedules to start. So it's, I start anchoring schedules so we can start establishing a solid circadian rhythm, right? So if we're constantly moving the goalposts, there is going to be a constant shift. So it's like jet lag for your baby every day if you don't have something like that established. So it's like you go into the East Coast and coming back, that's like your baby if there's going to be a 4 or 5 hour bedtime difference all the time, right? But even an hour matters. Like you'll feel an hour if you go to
absolutely.
San Francisco for the weekend. You come back and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just trying to like
point.
regulating everything. But like I try to think of it's the fear with the parents first. I'm like, okay, like I know it because I've been there. It's like you want to make sure they're safe, that they're not hungry, that they're warm, and the next thing is attachment. So that's why I always go to like, let's do the chair method first. If we need to adjust it for your situation, let's adjust it. Let's see how that's going with your baby's temperament. And if we need to change something again, we'll change something again. But I often find once we start addressing the feeding associations, they sleep through the night naturally. And parents feel so good about that. It's like, I responded all the time. And they're sleeping through the night now. I'm like, yeah, it happens. Like, that's part of it.
I just had that thought with Elliot. That I'm like, I haven't been giving you... He starts whining. I immediately get up and feed him. And then I'm like, well, why am I having to feed him? I know my guy's not hungry. Like, he's actively feeding for a minute and then he's non-nourishing.
Yeah, he doesn't need that.
Sucking. Like, he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Henry's going for the cheese.
And you can still go in and you can latch, see if he takes a full feed, try to tickle him and wake him up. Like, you woke me up, buddy. We're going in this and you're taking the full feed,
Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's like if you woke me up and we're doing business, we're doing business. If we're not, I'm unlatching you and we're going back to sleep. And I'm putting you in the crib awake. And you're going to figure this out.
So smart.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, you are I'm just going to say, I think you're like the best sleep coach I've ever heard.
Oh, really? That's
Well, it's like, you kind of like look online for like tips and stuff too, right? And you just listen, and sometimes it's just like a very strict, rigid, this is what you do. If you don't do this, you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
And that's what always scared me from sleep training. And my favorite thing about your Instagram page is that you do a lot of, you answer questions in like real time. And then, like, Siri,
we have a little assistant in the room.
But the way you like answer questions, and it's like, this is what I would do. It's not, this is what you should do, and this is the right thing. This is what I would do in this situation, because there's no Bible on this.
No, and I will say, like, Instagram questions are so hard to answer because there's so much of the story I'm not getting. So I want to be very careful how I answer them, because I don't want to make a parent feel like this is the line I have to like walk or nothing right's going to happen. And that's not how it is. That's not how parenting is, you know? It's like, even in my plans, true. I'm like, my clients are like, why did she send me a 17-page plan? Because I have so many options in there. You could do this, or you could do this. We'll chat about it in our consultation. You could do this, you could do this. But have a look at it. And if any questions come up, you're kind of already prepared before we jump into it. So I give the plan like ahead of time so they can read through it.
That's awesome. That is so smart. That is exactly what I needed.
Yeah. So like they have the option. It's like, if that's not going to work out, that's fine. We'll figure a way around it. Everything is adjustable, right?
Incredible.
Yeah, to the parents.
Well, I wish I could go back to when Janie was 8 weeks old and hire you, because that's exactly what I needed, Liz.
At Little Sleep Coach
yes.
on Instagram.
Oh my gosh. This is exactly what I needed to hear.
She is Sting.
Yeah.
That's Sting at Little Sleep Coach.
I feel like it should be just a small little course for parents after they have a baby. Like, it
Liz,
doesn't
you're
have
already
to be.
like pre-hired for me when I have a baby. Like, I'm gonna show up with my 2-week-old and be like, "Hey, tell me what to do right now."
There's so much you can do.
This episode of Good Girls Have Anxiety is brought to you in collaboration with Little Sleep Coach. Use promo code GoodGirlsHA at littlesleepcoach.com for 15% off a better night's sleep for you and your little babies.
There's so much you can do without going near any method. It is
Yeah.
insane. And it's like, why isn't this information given to people? Like, why aren't they told about, like, let's focus on some of the feeds during the day, you know, obviously listen to your doctor, like, just all these things to prepare parents so they don't feel like they're failing.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's a horrible feeling.
Oh, is it ever? And we've all been there. It is kind of your like rite of passage in parenthood, but it's unfortunate because sleep is just so vital. And if I could go back and tell little Sam
I know.
that it's okay to sleep train, girl.
Yeah, it
or
is.
like there are things that you can do when they're little that just help put things into place. And I was doing the bouncing and it was out of survival.
Yep.
Looking back at it, I actually don't think there was anything else I could have done. But I had a cousin give me the advice that what you do now is training them. So you are doing that now. That is training them to need that. So, and that is very true. So I did take that into my second child and know that, well, what I do today isn't necessarily mean I have to do that forever, but what I do every time
Yep.
is going to be what they rely on.
And that's what I would say as well. Like, add the diversity in,
Yeah.
you know, and that includes dad.
Yes. Oh, yes.
We take it all on as mom. Like,
Yeah.
it is, and we don't, dad needs to do some of this too.
Dad absolutely needs to do some of that too, because then you are the only option.
Yeah.
You get sick, you need dad to be able to get in there.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, if they fuss a little while they adapt to dad, that's just a part of it.
Yes.
They still have somebody loving there, caring for them. Just because they're crying doesn't mean you've abandoned them. Okay, well, if we could get into toddlerhood
Yes.
just a little bit,
Yeah,
if
let's
you
jump
have
to
the
the top.
time.
Yeah, I do.
Because that transition for me actually rocked me again because I was so stuck in my ways of what I did in newborn that I didn't, again, open my mind to be like, well, what does she need now? So I'll share a little bit into the mess that we had recently got into, but we're kind of feeling a little on the other side now.
Yep.
But we had cried out and we let her fuss and she'd fall asleep. And we did that for a long time. She obviously stopped fussing and she'd fall asleep independently. She'd cry in her crib. She'd not cry. She'd sing in her crib. She'd tell herself stories and she'd fall asleep. And it was great. Loved listening to her sing herself to sleep every night. It's adorable. But then I was probably around when the baby came. Like that big life change, that stopped happening. And then she started crawling out of her crib way later than most. I was riding the crib out, but we would let her. The only way I could get her to sleep was by letting her cry it out in her crib because that's the only way we knew how to help her because that's the only thing I did. So I feel like that's my regret when she was little is not having other ways to help soothe her because that carried into toddlerhood. So then here we were with a 3-year-old that had to leave screaming in her crib and she's there yelling at us and like, Mama, Dada, I miss you. Mama, Dada, I love you. Mama, Dada, hug me. And I'm like, I just want to do that for you, but it just delays bedtime by hours every night because then we come in and respond to you. And then like at a certain point we have to stop.
Yeah.
And so that to me was the hardest part of sleep with kids is then having this 3-year-old that has the language skills to beg you for help. And like, I can't not respond to that. But when I do, you don't ever sleep.
Yeah.
So eventually we have to not respond to that. And then she would go to sleep and sleep perfectly fine and sleep through the night. So it was like, well, that gets the results that we want. But emotionally, I could tell she was then struggling. And so then throughout the day, she was really struggling with separation.
Yeah.
So really struggling at daycare drop off, really struggling with other people watching her. It was bleeding into her everyday life.
Yeah.
And so like, I just knew this isn't working anymore. But here now we have a baby and I have that firm line of my bed is for me, my room is for me. In order to be a present, loving mom, I need that space at night. And that's just my boundary. And I don't feel bad about it. I just think that is what our family needs. And so I want them sleeping in their own room. And so I was like, well, what do I do other than lock her in her room, which I'm not going to do because other people wouldn't let me, but genuinely I think I need to lock this child in her room. But I
could tell you stories about that where families I've walked into, I'm like, okay, you guys need help, but this is going to take way longer than 2 weeks.
well, that was going to be me if I had nobody being there, standing there being like, I don't think this has to be it. Like I was again just so blind or focused on you fall asleep independently in your room. And I didn't think, okay, well, now we're in a different situation and a different phase of life. So what we ended up doing was getting that double bed in her room and having Andrew be that parent for her at night and fall asleep beside her, hold her hand. They fall asleep together. He leaves, goes back to our bed. She comes and gets him still multiple times a night. So we kind of want to talk about that. But like, there's so many different situations I see toddler parents getting into that it's like, oh, how did we end up here?
Yeah.
And it's usually around that 3 years. And I feel like that's not talked about a lot.
And they're so convincing. And then when it's in the middle of the night and you're like, you've been tugged out in bed, you're not thinking. You're like, okay, just solve the problem. You know, like that's what you go into, you know? And for babies, it actually is really easy because they're not as developed.
Yeah.
Right? As much as we want to say this, that, and the other, they're not.
They just don't.
And when we get into toddlerhood, I have to be very straight up with parents to be like, look, this is not going to be done within 5 to 7 nights. Like, this is now a habit, and I'm going to start you off. I'm going to work you with it, and we're going to see great results, but you're still going to have to be consistent to see great results, like probably within 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. That is the reality of it. Okay. It just takes longer because they're older.
And what are tools or techniques that you can use for toddlers?
So I love going in and doing the support.
Okay.
Being beside, and that's why I use it when they're babies, because the parents can use that again when they're...
Which is the piece that I didn't do that now we wish I did.
Toddlers, right? Yeah. But as well as that, like, so toddlers love, especially when, I'll go back, about 8 to 9 months of age, you'll see the separation anxiety come up. Huge, right? So it's really important to build connection around bedtime. All right. And you see that again around 18 months, maybe a little bit before, 2 years, could be 3 years again, you see it. It is separation anxiety. All right. So when you start to see they're not taking their nap anymore and they're coming out of their room constantly, it is part of the separation anxiety. And how you address that is connection, which is your bedtime routine. And I'll run you through mine with my kids. Yeah. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old. So when I'm by myself, I can do this by myself. They both have rough housing and playtime in the bonus room. They need it. They need that sensory input. They need the pushing and the pulling. That's part of their DNA to become, to growing up, you know? It's like a language burst. They want that sensory input. Give it to them. Have at it. And then have a snack to transition from the end of that play to your bedtime routine. Because it's really hard for kids to get off the roller coaster of excitement and fun and play. Yeah. We can hop off right away. They need help hopping off. I use a snack like bananas and peanut butter or applesauce. Something like that can be really helpful. And then I start the bedtime routine, which is, hey guys, let's go in and brush our teeth. Then they go and have a shower, and then they both go into their rooms. We put on their PJs, and then Taylor goes into her room. She starts reading, and Declan goes into his room, and I go to him first and I read a story and have a snuggle. When Declan was the baby, Taylor would come in with me and we'd have 3 of us have the snuggle in there and I would read them both the stories. Okay. So that's how it would be different. Now they're old enough that they can be separated. Mm-hmm. And when Dad is home, I will actually stay in there and fall asleep with Declan. Yeah. Because I like it. Yeah. Because I enjoy that.
I'm so jealous that Andrew gets to do it with her. Yeah. But I need to be free because Elliot wakes up 9 million times to feed in the night. But yeah, I'm so jealous that he gets that connection time with her.
Yeah, and it is. It's amazing. It's one of the most, this is something, you can change, but it's one of the most important times because that's where you can dig into what's bothering them during the day. Hey, how's your day, buddy? You turn off the lights and you start asking about their day and was everybody nice to you in school? Will this happen? Or you won't hear that during the day because they're too busy. Yeah. And so if Dad's not home, I just read him a story. He stays in his bed and I go in and then I read the story to Taylor. Like I know that.
How does he stay in his bed?
He just stays in his bed. I'm so jealous. Because that's part of that's been part of his habit. Like he has tried it to hop out and run around and get attention. I'm like, no, back to your bed, buddy.
But I think
like
it's
that's
also their safe space too, right? Like that's what Blake thinks of her room as now. Like when we first got this place, I was shocked at how quickly she wanted that to be her room. She took, like those little fold out beds that are like little couches that fold them out.
Her Gabby's one.
Her Gabby one, yeah. She took that to her room and she slept there the first night. I was totally ready for her to sleep in the bed with us. And she rolled that out. She had a blanket out.
We have very different children.
But but every kid's so different, right? But like it was almost as like us like allowing her to like go through the feelings and her be like, no, this is my room now. And I mean, it's not always perfect. Like there's definitely nights where she's like, no, I want to go to your room.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And we had to change things. Like when Steve was coaching, like all winter, he was gone like all day for work. Then he'd go straight from work to coaching. He'd be at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I'm doing both routines with a newborn and a toddler who's like just going into this, like what you would have done. And I had to like kind of let her kind of control the night within reason. Otherwise she would feel like, well, I'm cheated. Like I could see where she was like, well, no, like that's not fair. So she would come in, she would stay in the room with me. I would rock Wyatt to sleep in the bed or do whatever he needed to go to bed, get him into his bed when he was drowsy. Okay, we're cool. So I at least have 3 hours to put you to bed. So we would either like go to her room, and then when she was ready for me to leave, like we'd do this whole, like I'd scratch her back. She goes, tickle my back, scratch it. We'd do like the little Elsa song and I'd rub her nose. And then she'd be like, okay, you can leave. Like that was, but it was her world and I was just like going through the motions. Then I finished with that and I was ready for the other one to wake up.
Yeah. See, we had something similar, but Janie is of the temperament that like you cannot leave that room unless she is asleep. And so we tried doing timed separations to build her confidence with separations. That's really smart. She couldn't make it a minute without leaving her bedroom.
Okay, well, I have another option for you.
Do you?
Yeah, so you make it believable. Hey, sweetie, I gotta go and change the laundry really quick. I'll be right back.
I don't think she would ever stay for a second. Maybe now she would.
5 seconds?
Now that we've stayed in there for longer and she's more comfortable, and I think the anxiety level has dropped, I feel like maybe we're at the point that we could do something like that.
But you got to think of 5 seconds as a win.
Okay.
And then you work up.
I think I saw this on one of your stories where like
that's a long game, baby.
Yeah, it is a long game.
This is fine.
Yeah,
but
and that's
you
what I
have
say,
to show back up, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to like promise. If you're like, oh, I'm just going to do something real quick. I'll be back. And like you come back, but you have to be back.
And do you do that every night?
Yeah, you do. And you might have to do it. I would recommend doing it multiple times a night. Be like, all right, the dog's barking. I got to let him in. You okay here? I'll be right back.
Because we found Janie wouldn't stop speaking. So then we did somebody in the room and she would physically try to get out of the room. Yeah. Even when we were in it. And so we had to put a door lock on it while we're in it. Yeah. So she has a parent in there with her. The door, she can't get it open. Yeah. And then when we leave it open so she can get out. Yeah. But that was the only way she would lay down. So she would fight Andrew to leave the room when she knew she could get out of the room, even when a parent was in the room.
Because she knows what's happening next, though.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's exactly, because then we have a very set bedtime routine. Yeah. Very, very set bedtime routine. And so she knows exactly what's happening.
Yeah, so you're working on her confidence in the bed.
Yeah,
so you don't have to worry about her running to escape the situation.
Yeah,
right?
So we started sleep meditations. So we do guided kid sleep meditations and they work like a charm. I think it takes her mind off of the fact that she's supposed to be going to bed and she gets to choose it. We play it and that helps her fall asleep. Yeah. So maybe that could be something like start the sleep meditation. Oh, we just got to go grab. Yeah. Just got to go grab this real quick. I'll be right back. And then come back.
It has to be believable. Like they're smart.
Oh, too smart.
Yeah.
Way too smart.
It has to be believable.
Okay.
And that would be the thing. And start small and work it up.
And what would you do if they say, I'm going to come with?
No, just wait right here. I think it's just outside the door.
Okay. So it's like start is so small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it depends on her anxiety level. Like some kids are okay for a minute, some okay. And you might see how quickly she progresses too and be like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that was like with sleep training. She shocked me.
Yeah. But if you never try, you
never know. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. I just forget all these things when you go to toddler sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the one thing with the more formal methods is like you don't have a way to branch off of that one.
Yes. Which kid is
all
crying?
Moms.
Yeah.
Is it a cry or is it a song? I genuinely don't know.
Yeah. So
So what other methods for toddler sleep are in that like more of the separation anxiety phase?
Some kids are like they're confident enough where you can leave the room right away.
Okay.
And I would recommend taking advantage of that because I work with some parents and it's like they go to sleep great. It's just the nighttime that I
Yeah.
have issues with. And if that's the case, I wouldn't say sit by the bed. If like they're going to sleep fine, let's just address where you have the issue rather than build in a whole new habit. And if they're waking up in the middle of the night, you just got to walk them back to their bed and tuck them in.
Yeah.
And you just keep doing that. And it's about the least amount of interaction as possible.
Okay.
All right. But if that's the thing for you, but for us, like I have a 5-year-old. For a year when he was 4 years, he came into our bed every night. You know, and I was too tired. I would just cuddle him.
Yeah.
And then I put him back in his bed like probably an hour later because I couldn't fall back asleep. But that worked for me, you know? I don't live and die by any rules because I'm a mom. It's got to feel good too.
Okay. Because right now she'll come in and get Andrew. He'll go back and put on another sleep meditation and go back to sleep. And normally he falls asleep in bed with her and just stays there. Sometimes he'll leave again, but if he falls asleep, he falls asleep. He's comfy. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is that a bad habit you would recommend getting out of?
It's going to persist. Do you find it as a bad habit? Right?
I mean, for me, it doesn't matter.
Then, if he's happy with it, you're happy with it.
he's fine
She's
with
happy
it.
with it. We're all happy with it.
You can always get out of it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves for like the perfect.
Yeah.
If you find it affecting something else, like is she tired during the day? Like is it? Then I
No,
don't.
she seems like she's actually thriving now that we're doing this.
Yeah, and so my husband travels a lot, so a lot of times he's home just for 3 or 4 nights.
Yeah.
And like I find the parade come in, you know, because they haven't seen Dad and they want to get connection with Dad. Dad gets up and goes and snuggles them and puts them in their bed, and that's what Dad wants to do. Like that's part of his relationship.
Yeah.
You know? So I think we can be really hard on ourselves what we think is the picture perfect thing to do. This is not forever.
Yeah. That's really good advice. I feel like I really needed to hear that.
Yeah. You
And
know?
it's nice too talking about toddlerhood and how that what you do in infancy does kind of affect and translate into toddlerhood.
Yeah.
So it's nice to keep that in mind when you're making those decisions earlier on.
Yeah.
Not saying you can't change it.
Yeah.
Nothing's permanent, nothing's forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely could make things easier for sure. Caitlin, were you struggling with anything toddler wise that you wanted to?
Honestly, like hearing you has made me feel more confident in the decisions that I've made to get through sleep. Sleep with Blake was very different than sleep with Wyatt now. And I feel like with her, there were moments where I don't even know where the confidence came from. I kind of just let her lead because if I didn't, I would just end up crying. And you know, just like having the confidence in yourself and like your intuition, like so many ideas that you came up with have worked and you're giving yourself credit for it, but you have to like give yourself more credit for like, you know, instinctually that the things that you're doing are going to help her.
Yeah,
You know, like I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. We're like, yes, thank goodness we have people like Liz who are going to be like, hey, like you're doing this right, but let's try something else too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have to like have enough confidence in ourselves too to be like, you know what, I can put my thoughts aside and my ego aside. Maybe there's something I haven't thought of yet. So that's why we have these conversations. With Blake, I mean, honestly, man, yeah, like her coming into our bed became like a really big thing.
Yeah.
And I listened to your Instagram, and I took the pressure off of myself, and that really got me through things. Even now, like she's back to that thing of like she wants to fall asleep in our bed and then go over. And sometimes it gets really freaking annoying. I just want my space.
Yeah.
But I just have to, her thing too is like she'll be in, I'm like touched out, obviously.
Yes.
She'll want to fall asleep in our bed while playing with my earring.
Oh, I just got chills.
Right?
Don't touch me.
And at first I was really resistant to it. And I was like, because she does that to like her ears on her stuffed animals too. And then she was
Great.
doing it to
Do
me.
it with your
Exactly.
stuffies.
But then I was like, you know what? If this helps her sleep for the next couple days and then it's over, it was a season, barely a season. It's not a lifetime. It helped her and I'm going to get over it.
You're a good mom.
So I know that's going to be very, pardon?
You're a really good mom.
Oh my God, thank you.
That's really sweet.
But it's like, I always have to like tell myself that. And I'm like, there's like screaming into my steering wheel was not a good moment. Like, you know, like I'll never get over that. But
I think we've all screamed into our
Yeah.
I've
just so you know,
screamed at my child.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I mean, I've definitely done that too. And like that's the thing is like these things are normal. And like we like just talking to somebody about it or listening to somebody else's perspective that like is great at looking at the research. My thing is I always doubt myself. This is the one thing, my parenting of Blake is the only time that I have not doubted myself as a human being. And with Wyatt, I'm definitely questioning myself more. Again, that might be sleep deprivation, but
Probably.
right? But I'm sure that I'm going to need a lot more help this time, which might be backwards for most people, but for me, I know that I'm going to need more help. But stepping out of my body and just going, this is what she needs. It's not she's giving me a hard time or they're giving me a hard time.
Yeah,
they're having a hard time. And I've got to be there
That
with
perspective flip is actually so helpful. I find, so I feel like I'm on her team, not against her.
It is.
Absolutely.
I find that to be a super...
And I think a lot of the old literature around sleep and parenting was like you against them.
Yeah.
Like,
But they also didn't have the same resources we have. Like, thank God that we have the resources and like yes, we have social media, which sucks at times, but other times it feels like you have a community with people that you've never even met.
Yeah.
So that in itself is amazing.
I agree.
And I'm hopeful. Like, I think that, like I've said this almost every episode, I think we have something really, really special here. Bringing in Sam is another thing. Having friends like you is another thing. Having Lane, who hasn't had children yet, but has a little brother, like that gives a whole other perspective. And hopefully
We're just training Lane.
We're just training Lane.
She's going to be set.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, is like we have these like interesting birth experiences, and we're talking about how hard these things were and how hard it is to raise kids. Not a second. I'm going to speak for you guys because I know that it's going to be the same for you guys too. There's not a second where you regret having your child. No. There's nothing in the world that would change it. And we would do it a million times over. It is the best thing that I've ever done.
Apart from, I will say, postpartum depression. I did actually regret having a child at first. And that was the big red flag that I should have gone and got medication. So I will say a caveat. If you do feel that way, it's okay. It's common, but it's not normal.
And you can get through it.
Because I kept thinking, it's common. I know people feel this way, but that doesn't mean it's normal.
Yeah,
no,
that means that you just need a little bit of help.
Yes.
And you won't feel that way forever.
That's really
good
good
advice. So it's okay if you do end up feeling that way, but that's the sign that we look for help. And you will get through it.
And you listen to Good Girls Have Anxiety, the podcast, and then we will help you through everything. And if you have an idea, you just send us a quick little email.
And you're going to love that little shit. And you're going to love it.
You'll love anything else in your entire life. You're going to squeeze it. You're just going to smother it with love.
I want to eat her whole every day of my life.
And you're going to put a microchip in them. And the government's not...
It's true.
This, but it's really, really funny.
But it's not permanent. It's not permanent.
It's not permanent. Everything's a season. And don't make permanent decisions on temporary feelings. Like, you will get through it. And you will find your tribe and your village and your whatever it is that you need. And like, I hope that that's what we are building here, and we definitely want to have you on again.
Yes,
like,
please.
Can I just say, like, the best piece of advice I had when I was a new mom, and it was like a couple of weeks into Taylor, and I was like in the depths of like, oh my God, what am I doing? I had a friend of mine, she was a retired nurse, and she said, you know, in motherhood, you may not enjoy every stage, but there are going to be stages that you really, really enjoy.
So true.
And I thought, oh, okay. Like, it's not so like this forever.
Yeah.
You know?
You get, and you don't know
you don't
it.
Realize that in the moment.
Especially your first.
Yeah.
Until they hit, to me, between 1 and 2 is just pure magic.
I love that age.
Between 1 and 2, I would just do any. And so, but once you go through that first year of hard work with your first that has colic and reflux and not sleeping, and you get there, I'd say after 6-7 months even, you're just like, oh my gosh. If I could have, this was advice I was given, if I could have seen what my life would be like in 6 months' time when I first had a newborn, it would not have been near as hard. Because it just like the magic on the other side of the trials is just like, that's why people have children.
Yeah.
That's why people continue to do this over and over again.
That's why we debate every day, like having a third child.
Yeah,
but then you're like,
just
logic kicks in.
Incredible watching them learn and grow. But it's so true. It is a phase. The phase won't last forever. And you do just have to know that. And it's hard to trust that when you're in that first phase.
Oh, yeah.
So hard to trust that. But it's so true, Liz. That's such good advice.
Yeah, the chubby thighs. I miss the chubby thighs.
Oh, eat them for breakfast. I know I got chubby thighs right now. It's the best.
That's advice that somebody else had given you. What is advice that you would give?
This is hard because it relates so much to like my personal experience or sleep, you know?
Anything. And
I think
multiple.
I think with sleep, there is little things that like that 1% shift you can make all the time. And I think when we think sleep training that we have to move the gauge all at once. And if you're thinking proactively, just a little thing, and making those little changes right from day one, you can have a great sleeper without ever needing to do sleep training.
Could we have a few examples of little things?
The feeding was a huge one. Focusing on
yeah.
feeding, not waking them up during the night. For newborns, putting them down to sleep when you're going to sleep
Yeah.
is huge, because you get the same amount of sleep, because they have about 4 to 5 hour block of sleep normally. If you're getting that, you're a lot more refreshed.
Absolutely.
You're producing milk because you're rested.
Yeah.
Your hormones are being more balanced. Waking them up at the same time every morning, which can be hard.
I still don't do that.
Yeah. Like picking
That's
a
an
time,
important one.
That is, because it sets their circadian rhythm and their schedule for the day, so it makes it more predictable. So you know when bedtime's supposed to be happening too. So
I meant to ask this.
you're okay.
Sorry, this is a total random one. I'm totally interrupting. When do you go onto a schedule versus wake windows?
So I do it gently, and I would start with what I call, remember we touched on this, like an anchored nap.
Yeah.
So I'd start with about 4 or 5 months with that first nap of the day, and having it between that same half hour every day. Wow. So you're waking them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we start.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Don't let them sleep past 7. And usually their naps will fall around like, I'm trying to think, 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30 at that age. Sorry, 8:30 at that age. And then you would, all right, maybe they slept really well last night. They're not quite tired enough. Wait till 9. Put them down at 9.
Yeah.
They had a really terrible time last night. Maybe we'll just
Yeah.
keep it to that time. And then that's what I said, like, work on that first nap. And once you see that come in, you can start working on the second nap. And then I usually don't change to a schedule for bedtime until they're probably 2-3 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
For real? Liz,
Yeah.
we've done this in total reverse.
But so here's what I want you to think.
Really?
Like, yeah. So if they have a good nap, right, and they took a great nap, and they wake up at 3 o'clock in the day, and you're used to having their bedtime at 6:30
Yeah.
because they're used to having terrible naps, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have to push that back, because you're just going to put a child down that's not tired enough. Yeah. So working on wake windows from the end of the last nap until bedtime.
Okay.
Yeah, and that can be really helpful, because what that does, and I usually look to stretch that, the last wake window too, because I'm looking to build sleep pressure.
Yes.
To keep them asleep all night.
Yeah.
Because if you have a nap super late in the day, they're not building the sleep pressure to keep them asleep all night.
Yeah.
So then they're waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, ready to party for a little bit. But that's how I kind of adjust the schedule around that.
Okay. It looks like I need to hire Liz.
I have all my schedules on my Instagram. I'm like, just have at it.
Don't give it away for free, Liz.
But here's the thing. It's like, I want to help the tricky ones, right? There's moms out there who have low sleep needs babies. And I have to say, it's a very low percentage. It's 1%. They're pulling their hair out because they're trying to keep to schedules that just their child cannot physically do.
Yeah.
You know? Or you have children out there who are high sleep needs, and the parents are like, why are they sleepy all the time? Why can't I get? So there's the extremes of that, you know? And everything in between is usually just a habit. But the schedules for average sleepers are generally just the same.
Okay.
If you know how to apply it. Right?
All right.
As you get the habits down, they're sleeping independently, the schedules just kind of...
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah. And if you have a high sleep needs child, you will always have a high sleep needs child. And because you're high sleep needs, there's a chance your kids might be high sleep needs.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Well, Andrew's low.
Oh, is he?
Andrew's fairly low, and I'm high. AKA, he is the one that gets up early with the children, and I have a great reason.
My kids are going to be high sleep needs. I'm like you.
Yeah.
I need like 9 hours of sleep, or else I'm like,
and I
not
think Elliot's
alive.
fairly high sleep. Like, he sleeps a lot. Like, he takes solid naps throughout the day.
Yeah.
Janie, not so much, but she's always been like, she's on the higher side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see where those traits all come in. See, we're supposed to mold these children into like 12-hour sleepers, and no, it's they already came pre-programmed.
Yeah.
We just don't realize.
You just got to figure out who they are.
Yeah. So that's the kind of interesting piece about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So back to my advice. Totally went off.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I loved it. Because I also just realized that we didn't talk about like when they're born. Did we? Was I gone when you guys talked about like when they're born having to do with like their sleep?
We talked about their birth weight, and then working on, a lot of doctors will say wake them every 2 hours so they reach their birth weight. What they don't tell you is not
When to stop.
to stop.
Yeah.
And that becomes a huge issue that I see that comes up.
But like what time, with Blake, I had her just before 7 p.m. With Wyatt, he was 7 a.m.
Oh,
And
times of birth.
times of birth, does that throw off their circadian rhythm at all?
No, because you remember it's already set with you. So they already have that habit ingrained. So it's just getting them back onto that. I'm a huge fan of putting newborns down when mom and dad go down to sleep.
Yeah.
At like 10 o'clock at night, which is...
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much what I did as well.
That's what I did with Blake, but it did not work with Wyatt.
But a
Like,
lot
I
of
was
times,
just- Jesus, take the wheel.
a lot of times you'll see like people are putting down at 6 to 7 o'clock because they're newborn. They need lots of sleep. But no, they've had their first solid 4 to 5 hours of sleep already. And they just have broken sleep after that. And like the parents are just exhausted. Yeah. So, So my one piece of advice, there's always that one little thing that you can do to help the situation in the end. It's just, I think when you set the goal so high and you work yourself up to get the result right away, it can be so hard on everyone, including mom.
Yeah. And then dad, because we yell at them.
Absolutely.
Some over the phone.
And then they walk in the door and you're like, this is me. Because Andrew used to work, like we both worked in film. So he was working, we didn't see him Monday to Friday, but he'd still come home at night and sleep in the bed. And he'd walk in the door and all day I'm like excited to see him, I can't wait till he gets home. He walks in the door and I'm angry immediately.
Or
that
if they're
feeling of like
20 minutes late and you expect them, you're like,
don't even.
I'm like the opposite. I like am so mad at him all day. I'm like stirring in my own emotions. He walks in and he's like, "Hey, honey," and I'm like, it's awful.
So
I get mad at myself and I like start getting like frustrated, like crying, and then he just like makes me laugh and it makes me even more mad. It feels like
that's
a
good.
trap. Is it though?
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes he needs to like feel the wrath.
Andrew feels the wrath a little bit too much.
I rage text.
Sweet
and then
guy
I'm like,
doesn't deserve it.
I'm kind of like that when Warren comes in and he's just so sweet. He's like, hi. And he connects right away.
How dare
I'm
they
just
be
like,
that sweet?
But I've been so angry about this.
And it's your fault.
I need to let it out on somebody.
I just want to say you guys all seem like such intentional, attentive, loving mothers. Like from my outside perspective of not being a mother, but watching my mom raise a 2-year-old every day, like you guys just seem so great with your kids and like you really care, and like it's very special to like see you guys talk about your kids.
You've already got some aunties here.
You're ready. You got
Don't pop them out yet, but when it happens.
Yeah, no, like seriously, you guys seem like intentional, compassionate, really sweet mothers, and you're gonna raise awesome kids. You have awesome kids. All of your kids are great, but yeah.
Now let's go snuggle them.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to part 2 of Good Girls Have Anxiety, the podcast with Little Sleep Coach Liz. If you have a story you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at goodgirlshaveanxiety@gmail.com. Okay, bye.
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 That's it for this episode of Good Girls Have Anxiety. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and review. If your brain's still spiraling, honestly, same. Follow us on Instagram at Good Girls Have Anxiety, email us at goodgirlshaveanxiety@gmail.com, and send it to a friend. We appreciate every share, download, and engagement. Take a breath, unclench your jaw. You're doing great. And remember, being anxious does not make you broken. It makes you human. Okay, love you, bye.